Good day, and welcome to Your VIDHS, a podcast dedicated to sharing useful and resourceful information about the Virgin Islands Department of Human Services and its 84 programs and divisions. We're going to have a real treat today. Today, we are going to talk about foster care and adoption in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a very important subject, and I am joined by two distinguished ladies. I have today with me Charrisse V. Hart, Administrator of the Division of Children and Family Services for the Department of Human Services. Welcome. And she is joined today by Miss Lovine Johnson, District Manager of the Division of Children and Family Services. Welcome. How are y'all ladies doing today?
We are well, at least I am, Ms. Johnson.
I am wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Excellent. Glad to see you come over from St. Thomas to join us here. Let's talk a little bit about adoption and foster care, a real important subject. The first thing I want to know is basically, what is the DHS foster care and adoption program? In a nutshell, pretty much.
Okay, so the DHS Foster Care and Adoption Program is a program where we work with the families of children who are at risk or who has been deemed at risk for abuse and or neglect. So we work with their families to either reunify them with their family, with their parents, and or a family member is our first option. And when that cannot be done safely, then we temporarily place them with licensed foster parents within their homes.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask, on the outset of our children here in the Virgin Islands, how does a kid end up in the foster program? What do they do, or what situations get them into a situation like that?
Those situations can come, the children come into care through abuse or neglect. And so we have the DHS, Office of Intake and Emergency Services. And if we get a call from anonymously or someone reported an incident, then the staff in that unit would go out and investigate. And based on their investigation, that would determine if it's proven or not, then that would determine whether or not the case goes to court or is dismissed.
Yes.
And so if it goes to court, this is where the judge determined whether DHS had a legal standing in removing the children, and the court would then give DHS legal custody, permanent or temporary, and place them in the foster care unit, and then the case would go directly, transfer from the intake unit to the foster care and adoption.
Wow. So in the situation that a child becomes, say, a ward of the state due to neglect or abuse or a situation where the parent can no longer be in their life, DHS becomes the temporary guardian of that child until they find a home?
Temporary custodian.
Okay.
Which is different from guardian.
Yes, a temporary custodian. I didn't know that we had such responsibility. A lot of people don't know that. You see, 84 programs, divisions, and all of this is going on. And of course, this is under Child and Family Services. Talk to me a little bit about what you see in court with these kids and their families. This is the Virgin Islands. We'd like to know about, how is the atmosphere in there? Is it really hard for a kid?
No. The children typically aren't exposed to the court proceedings. They do attend court at least a couple times a year. The judges like to see them and interact with them, but typically they're shielded from some of the interactions and information that comes up in court. However, when a child becomes a certain age, which is 14 or older, they tend to be more ingrained or included in the proceedings than a younger child.
Wow, okay. That's interesting. And so they come over and migrate over into our program. Let's talk a little bit about who they eventually get to live with and be with once we have created that process. Let's talk about the foster parents for a quick second. What does it take to be a foster parent?
So in order to become a foster parent, of course you communicate with DHS, and we would then send you an application. In approximately 2 weeks or so, follow up with a text or a call and say, did you get the application? Do you have any questions? And the application is filled out. Within that application, there's different forms that you have to fill out. Some of the key items, forms that must be completed is the criminal background check.
Right. Okay.
So, which is
Very
a local
important.
check and
And a national check.
national check.
Okay. Yep. And I see that.
Also, there's a medical form that you take to your doctor to get filled out. Also, we do a home evaluation. In the home evaluation, it requires you to have a space for the child, and most importantly, you have to have fire extinguisher, smoke alarms. Ms. Hart, you want to add something?
Yeah, and in addition to the process of the package that we complete, you also have to submit to a financial form, complete a financial form. Because even though we do provide for the care of the children placed in your home, we also need to determine that the child being placed in your home would not prove an undue hardship for you, for the individual.
Yes, yes.
And
Not
so
taking on too much for yourself.
For
Even though you
yourself.
have a generous heart, it don't mean necessarily that you can take a responsibility like this. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so aside from what Ms. Johnson just described, like I said, additionally we do the financial piece, as well as we ask for character references. Somebody who could speak to you as an individual, your parenting skills, and just in general how they feel about you caring.
That's
for a child.
comforting to know. Very good.
Yes.
Not just, we want to know, who says that you can be in this relationship and
Correct.
have these responsibilities. We want proof, what I mean? We want receipts, right? That's what the kids say, that
Definitely.
we want receipts.
Definitely.
That's very good. So talk to me a little bit about the home situation. What are you expecting a foster care a parent to be? First of all, can they be outside of the territory?
Yes.
They can?
They can.
Okay.
So throughout this process, the first person that typically intake and emergency services look to
Right.
would be family.
Okay. So family first, in a
family
case
first.
that the kid is in trouble or his
So-
parents are, they're going to look for the family first. Okay.
We will try to engage with the non-offending parent first and see if they're able to care for their child, or if they have any family members that they would want to identify to care for their child. And then we would go to the other parent and go through that process as well to try and identify family. If we can't identify family on island, but they say, well, hey, I have an aunt in Florida or Texas or anywhere that, I could speak to them and they would be willing to foster my child until we could get things situated in St. Croix, then we go through what's called the ICPC process,
Yes,
the Interstate
okay.
Compact on the placement of children. And within that process, we communicate with the identified state. They do the same process that we do here in the Virgin Islands, the same package, the same background check, the same home evaluation, financial and everything, and they determine according to their standards and their laws whether or not that individual and home would be a suitable placement for their relative. And once that has been determined, we do place the children.
You do place them. Yeah.
with off island.
For the audience, let's break down, that's foster care. Now let's talk about adoption. And give me the distinction between the two and how our department works with that.
And so for adoption, the court has to determine whether the child is legally free for adoption. So once the child has been in foster care for a certain amount of time, our goal is permanency. And so in order to find a forever home for the child. And so
A forever
home. Yes.
Correct.
So throughout the whole process, from the beginning of the case, like Ms. Hart said, we try to find family members first.
Right.
First, we try to reunify with the non-offended parent, and then we'll ask the parents if they're not able to take the child or care for the child anymore. Right.
Yes.
We'll ask them, do you have any family members who can care for the child? If they say no, and nobody stepped forward to care for those children throughout the court process,
Right.
then after a certain amount of time, with 15 out of 24 months, I'm sorry?
15 out of the first 24
4
months
months?
of being in care.
DHS can then file a petition to terminate the parental rights.
Wow. Okay.
And therefore frees up the child for adoption.
Yes.
And so we have persons in the community who fill out our application and says, I don't necessarily want to do foster care, but I'd like to adopt a child. There's folks out there who just want to adopt children.
Why?
Right?
Why? What? And let's talk about that quick. The nuance between it. Isn't it harder to adopt a child than to be a foster care? I'm sure adopting means taking on the whole burden of being the child's forever guardian, right?
So, to clarify that, if you're adopting a child out of foster care,
Right.
the child has to be successfully placed with you. We do foster to adopt.
Yes.
The child has to be successfully placed with you for at least 6 months before we move towards the full adoption, because sometimes it just might not be a good fit for the child and or the potential adoptive parent. So typically we don't do straight adoption.
Right.
It's foster to adopt. So yes, you would have to be, once a child has been identified, you would have to be willing to foster to adopt.
Yes.
To make sure that, you know, any nuances or behavioral issues or any challenges can be mediated and stabilized
Okay.
before we move forward with adoption, because what we don't want is for someone to return a child to care because of a situation that could have been dealt with through the foster to adopt
exactly.
process.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
That's what I was saying. I would imagine that you would want to try foster care first before you want to take on full adoption. But then, you know, to each their own. And this the two important programs, and these children, they need all the assistance we can get. So, I mean, if you think you can do it, go for it. Let's talk a little bit more about our, I don't want to say numbers, but how does it look in the Virgin Islands foster care wise?
But you had one thing before we do that. Our foster parents in the territory, or whether they're in territory or not, have been wonderful. Because once the children become available for adoption, the foster home they're in, would you say probably 90% of the time is the homes that they're currently in, those foster parents adopt those children.
Wow, that's a good.
Or maybe my number could be higher than 95.
95, yeah.
But those foster parents adopt the children.
That's incredible.
And for some folks with the adoption, what I've heard is that it's hard for some people. They would say, I can't foster and then let them go. Because once you've had that child in your home
and you got attached,
how do you let go?
How do you let go?
And so that is why some folks are like, yes, I would like to, but I don't want to be a long-term foster parent. I want to adopt. So they would take the minimum of 6 months or so. But there's once you have a child in your home, that attachment, you can't let go. And some people can't deal with that letting go part.
I know, and I could imagine, especially when you invested your emotions and your time and your effort and your money. I mean, let's be realistic. Everything comes into play, and then you feel a loss. I'm sure you probably do. And I don't want to call it an investment, but it's more of a spiritual investment, isn't it? When you're taking on a new life to foster and care for and raise, it's very hard. And you answered my numbers question in because that's what I wanted to know. Are we successfully having families? And you're saying yes, we are here in the Virgin Islands. That's beautiful to know. Let's talk about some things that the audience should be aware about, like some events and things that's happening. I know May is Foster Care Month.
Correct.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What are we doing?
So, Foster Care Month is May is a nationally recognized month for foster care, and the month is used to raise awareness about foster care in general and the role different individuals, entities play within the child welfare spectrum. So most people don't realize, yes, foster care is human services, and they typically figure child welfare is human services.
Yes.
But child welfare also includes education, Department of Health, any community organization that would provide activities and outlets for these children and families to participate in.
Yes.
Any support services that these children and family, to include foster parents, birth parents, that they may need to be able to succeed. So all of that is considered the child welfare system, and we need to get that out into the community, that it's DHS takes a heavy burden of the child welfare system, but it's all of us.
Right.
And so the month is utilized to raise that awareness, and also to we sometimes use it to recruit foster parents.
Yep.
The need for foster parents, as well as to showcase what all we've been doing with our children and family, as well as prepare some of our older kids to exit out of care.
Yeah, yes.
So
And in honor of Foster Care Month, that's what we should be doing right now. If you are a individual out there, you are interested in helping this community and helping children in this community, then why not try foster care or adoption? We'll throw a number up here, and you can call this number right here and, you know, talk to somebody about being involved in this program. It's very important that, you know, we get the message out there as well.
And I would like to add, in addition to actually having a child in your home, there are different ways to foster. You can sponsor an event for our kids and our families.
Yes.
You can provide, like I said, supportive service for our foster parents, birth parents. You can donate space for us to have an event.
Right.
You can provide mentorship for our older kids. There's different ways, as simple as if you have a business and we're trying to promote an activity, having a willingness to put a flyer in your business.
That helps too.
It's fostering,
Definitely.
it's participating in the foster care program. So there's many ways that you can foster besides taking a child into your home, because taking a child in your home is a huge responsibility, and some people may not be ready for that. But you can foster in different ways.
Absolutely. I'm glad we're sharing all of that with our community today. Talk to me a little more about activities like later on in the year and things we do to bring awareness to the program. I know we do something with the kids in Christmas and Thanksgiving, right?
Correct. Ms. Johnson, you want to start?
Yes, and so let's start with back to school.
Okay, back to school, yes.
So several businesses and community members have donated back to school supplies
And backpacks.
Including backpacks, and we're very grateful.
Yes, and that's usually a summer thing leading into the year. We want to do that again.
And so we are looking forward to children going back to school, and we're looking forward for anyone who wishes to donate. We'd appreciate it. And
once again, call this number right here and this address. Send it. We'll definitely double back to you.
And then we also have in November, where is the Division of Children and Family Services, including the Protective Care Unit,
right,
where community members and businesses again step in and provide meals, a full meal, turkey, the stuffing, the cranberry, and everything.
Yes.
They provide full meals to the families who are in need.
That's
within
amazing.
DHS.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not only our foster care families that they provide it for. We do have within our unit what's called a protective unit, and those are families who are at risk for coming into care, and we work with them to prevent them from coming into care.
Now, you see, I was at an event like that last November, and they were all given these huge boxes of like stuff to make Thanksgiving food. I thought that was so dope. Because it was, you know, you could give somebody a voucher or tell them to go to care. They gave them like the recipes, they gave them flour, they gave them the turkey, they gave them the canned food, they gave them all the trimmings. And I was like, yo, this is...
So what we have to do is we have to give shout out to the 4-H program through the University of Virgin Islands on St. Croix for that particular event. And in the District of St. Thomas, that is also being done through one of our local lodges, and so it's actually prepared meals, and we give them a number of plates, and they cook the meals, they plate it out, and we assist in delivering the foods to the family.
Generally, the Child and Family Services and the nonprofits, they have a good relationship out here while we're doing all this stuff, right? You want to shout any of them out too, because I know
for the most part.
There's Queen Louise Home that we work with, Nana Baby. A lot of them are also...
As we said, the 4-H Club in St. Croix. In St. Thomas, we have St. Thomas Lodge. We have the Eastern Lioness Club, Lions Club.
Okay.
We have the New Herrnhut Moravian Church.
Yes.
In both districts in some instances, depending on what we're doing.
Yes.
So yeah, we have a number of different community organizations that reach out to
because
collaborate.
as we navigate this thing with, you know, making sure children are in the right place in society, the networks we set up to let this happen, it's also important as well. I'm glad y'all came on to this show today. Go ahead. Yeah.
But I'd also like to add that when 4-H goes out and set up a table in front of Plaza or Cosculus or wherever they set it up, and that one person who takes that list and go in and bring a can of corn out or a can of cranberry, we appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
I want to say that because sometimes, you pass by and you take the list. I might not be able to buy a turkey because, turkeys are kind of expensive. But if I can bring out a can of corn, a bag of flour, or I can just bring out a can of cranberry or something to help to make the meal, we appreciate you for doing that.
We definitely do.
Additionally, now that you mentioned Cosculus recently became on board with us to provide Christmas gifts.
Excellent. Oh man, that's huge.
So,
yes.
So they, aside from assisting with the Thanksgiving events, they also work with us.
Yeah, Cosculus, thank you for that.
For Christmas, as well as backpedaling. We have the Ritz-Carlton in St. Thomas helps us with our back to school event.
Yes.
They provide backpacks and supplies, and so we do have some community organizations and businesses that work well with us religiously every year, but we can always use more.
Of course.
We can always use more. Give us a call, and we could use the help, and the children can use the help, and the community can, and we will be so grateful, right?
Right.
We definitely will.
And then to add in the Christmas party. We have an annual foster
Christmas
children.
party.
Yes, talk about that, the annual foster care Christmas party.
That happens in December. And so again, the community, businesses, and individuals step up and provide gifts for these children.
Yes.
And whether it's a gift they provide or they contribute into making the event successful. So for example, if somebody say, well, I will provide the music at a discounted rate.
Yes.
We're grateful.
That's absolutely
right.
Yeah.
Or somebody might say, well, I'll donate one gift for a child. We're grateful. And so therefore, December is right around the corner. So therefore,
sort of.
Again, we're looking toward the businesses, our community, the individuals who wishes to donate. We're looking forward to making this a success this year. And so and if you want to see what happened last year with the Christmas party, we had it at the movie theater, our Facebook page, the Department of Human Services Facebook page.
That's right. Check it out.
You can go and you can see some of some photos, some pictures of what happened.
In both districts, we had it. At
It was wonderful.
Yes.
And so if you can join us this year in donating, we would be grateful.
That would be
as
excellent.
usual.
As usual. Come on out, and of course we're going to, throughout the year, check our Facebook page. We're going to give advances and tell everybody when every event is, and we really looking forward to your support. Any last words, ladies? This was such a great show today.
Well, I mean, I would like to close out with our slogan that we do need more foster homes, and especially in the St. Croix district. We need a territory-wide, but more so in the St. Croix district. And so if you're interested in remotely fostering, we have different levels of fostering. We have just emergency placement only. We have temporary short-term. We have foster to adopt. We have long-term. Call us, have a conversation, let us know what you're comfortable with. We'd like you to also know, even in fostering, you do have within the application process, you have the option for preference of age group, gender, even you can even include your religious preference and stuff. And we, as much as possible, we try to match placing a child with what your preference is. Sometimes we may not be able to, and we say, look, we probably just need you for X amount of time until we can find a better match.
Yes.
But we need people to open their minds and their hearts.
Yes, absolutely.
To fostering, and that is our logo. If there's room in your heart, foster a child today.
If there's room in your heart, foster a child today. Yeah, this is going to be a tear-jerking episode for a lot of people. Ms. Johnson, any last words?
Yes, I'd like to say thank you to our current foster parent.
Yes.
A million
Huge shout
thanks to the current and past foster parents, every individual that works with DHS in order to provide a safe home for our children, we do appreciate you. As Ms. Hart said, we are in need of foster homes, but we do appreciate you for just stepping up, asking a question, and throughout the process in order to become a foster parent, we're there with you the whole time.
Correct.
So therefore, filling out the application, call me. Let me know if you have any questions. Throughout the whole process, you're assigned a worker, or if you have a worker, and you can't find the worker, you call Miss Johnson. And if you can't find Miss Johnson, you call Miss Hart, right?
There you go.
And if you can't find Miss Hart, you go to Miss Benjamin.
Yeah.
So there's
That's
two.
right.
You do. You can go to.
Or you go to the commissioner. There's always somebody there to answer your question.
There is.
They might not pick up the phone the minute you call, but you're not left alone throughout the process. Throughout the process. And when you have a child in your home, you're assigned a worker. You call and you ask your question. This is a partnership, which DHS very much appreciate.
Absolutely. I couldn't have ended it any better. I'd like to thank you, Ms. Hart and Ms. Johnson, for coming on to this show. Another feature brought to you by the Division of Children and Family Services. Always a pleasure when you guys are on here explaining the good work you do for the people in the Virgin Islands. I'm Ryan Nugent. I'm glad you're watching Your VIDHS. We'll be back with another informative podcast for you later. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Okay.